No music, no intro, none of the above. Straight to work. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. White House. This your brother Math IQAhmath. First name IQ is all the same, man. Shalom to the people. My people's just in the house, man. Shalom to y'all. I don't usually do Sunday mornings. It's a Sabbath. I usually, go to church. I said I wasn't gonna do it. I got to stay focused, man. With everything that's going on, as you see and you've heard, you're witnessing, you're understanding what's happening. Your brother and others have been talking about this day and days to come for a long time, and here we go. Friday night, if you was able to witness or see my live, or you saw it after the fact, um, I made mention regarding an article and the president in chief, Donald J. Trump, Agent Orange, said he was going to make a decision within 2 weeks on whether or not the U.S. was going to take action against Iran for not bowing down and bending the knee regarding signing a nuclear energies treaty and all of that other stuff, right? So no surprises that the man lied, and then they try to clean it up. Well, he said within 2 weeks. It was 2 days is within 2 weeks. I mean, he led everybody to believe it was going to be 2 weeks, like literally. Give me a couple of weeks to figure this thing out. But that's the devil for you, man. And what's ironic is um, there's always these attacks that happen on the Sabbath. When you go back to October 7th, that was on a Sabbath. Uh, the bombing that happened yesterday on the Sabbath, and our enemies have a um, record for trying to make attacks on the Sabbath. I just look at that. I looked at that in the spirit, and I was just like, wow, here goes another one that they decided to do on the Sabbath, right? Um, Now let's get right into it, man. What I'm not going to talk about what everybody already knows. There's no elephant in the room here. What I'm going to talk about is the aftermath, the fallout from yesterday's bombing. What's in the headlines now? You dig what I'm saying? So what we're seeing right now is after this bombing went down, multiple nations have came to the forefront, standing behind Iran and saying, "We're willing to give you nukes to retaliate. Let's get it going." The Iranians have already said, "Look, there's going to be irreparable damage if the U.S. strikes us," and they did it. Now the question is whether or not they're bluffing. Are they going to really ride for what they're saying, or are they not? Are they going to bow down? Because if you leave it to the so-called white man, you leave it to America, they're saying, "Well, after we did this bombing, uh, we expect them to come to the table and want to talk now." I mean, who's doing that, man? You're going to sit back and slap me in the face, punch me in my mouth, and then tell me you want to make peace now? Are we good now? Let's do what I want you to do. You think it's going down like that? No, it's not going down like that. Excuse me, you got multiple nations now that are standing behind Iran, and we've been documenting and we've been watching and we've been seeing what's happening, right? Multiple nations have came out and said we're willing to give Iran nukes, right? Iran has made a power move and they're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. They said that they were thinking about doing it. They might do it as they were going back and forth with Israel. Now, after this bombing, the Strait of Hormuz got closed, and we'll talk about why that's important because that's around 10% of the world's energy and the world's oil now is going to be cut off and shut down. Um, how's that going to impact the energy prices here, the gas prices here? Will these oil companies over here utilize that as a means to price gouge and raise up the prices, even though it may not even affect the oil production here and energy production here? These greedy companies, man, they're going to take advantage of the situation because the main countries that utilize that oil and need that Strait of Hormuz is in the east, like China, India, I believe a few other countries, really heavily rely on the Strait of Hormuz to get their oil and their energy from Iran and these other countries. So it might not even affect over here too much, but you know what these greedy countries, I mean, these greedy companies over here are going to say, oh, this is going to affect our supply and demand. We're going to have to raise up them gas prices on you. I mean, as if they're not already. I mean, they've gone down. I don't want to complain too much, but guaranteed they're going to go up. What is it going to happen with the stock market, the economy? Is that going to be impacted? You dang sure it is. You sure are, right? So let's look at a few things, man. And this is not going to be too long. We're just going to ride it out in the spirit. But I definitely want to do a follow up, a post game uh, live regarding what's happening, right? So let's jump over here and we're going to read Jeremiah 50 because this is very key regarding what's going on right now and prophetic, to say the least. Okay. And this is the judgment and the destruction of what's going to be happening, what's happening to Babylon right now. Now, watch this, and you tell me that the Lord is not powerful. All praise to the Most High. In the name of His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh, the anointed Savior, who the world has been ignorantly calling Him Jesus Christ for millennial now, right? Check this out. Jeremiah 50:22 says, "A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction." That's key. Battle is going on. There's going to be a battle here in America, aka modern day Babylon. Battle's going to be happening. Not only that, but you're going to hear, and we're seeing and hearing battles going on throughout the earth. Revelation 16 says that the prophecy regarding the Euphrates drying up to make ways for the kings of the east. So we're seeing the kings of the east now assembling themselves. If they're not already in battle, like Russia and Ukraine, if they're not already in battle right now, they're assembling themselves, getting ready to get into war. India, Pakistan, they've already been going at it, right? You got China, North Korea, all these other countries are all being involved. The whole threat of China and Taiwan is on the table as well. But they're all getting towards, and everybody's focus right now is towards the east, the Middle East, right? This is where all the kings of the earth are assembling themselves, getting ready to get busy. Ezekiel 38 tells us about, Russia assembling themselves and their allies together and preparing for war. So a sound of battles in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? Who's the hammer of the whole earth? We're talking about America. America has been able to go out there and impose its will on all nations throughout the earth. When that Hiroshima and Nagasaki hydrogen bomb got dropped, as Revelation 13 tells us that all the world is going to see these miracles that they do. Paraphrasing that they have become the hammer of the earth to where all nations are in subjection to America. And how do we know that also? They've got over 700 military bases throughout the earth. They're the ones that dictate policy and diplomacy all throughout the earth. Nothing goes by without their approval, i.e., this particular war between Iran and Israel. This did not go down without America's approval, as we seen later on. At first, America was like hands off. Oh, well, we don't have anything to do with that. Then they start coming out saying we are doing very well. We were able to do this. Now it's just flat out. Now we're bombing. We're completely involved, right? So how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Look at this. What did they call the operation yesterday? What they call? Hello? Operation Midnight what? You can't make this up, y'all. You can't. Operation Midnight Hammer was a significant U.S. military operation that involved surprise strikes on 3 key Iranian nuclear sites using over 125 aircraft. Was it really a surprise? Because there was already reports about B-2 bombers heading over there already. There was reports that was coming out on Friday, and they were saying, "Oh, they were supposed to go to Guam." That was a lie. They clearly kept it pushing. I mean, should we be surprised when we're dealing with a fork-tongued creature like the so-called white man? I mean, he loves the lie, loves the bomb, does it all, right? We We've gotten that in the scriptures when what is it, Psalms 58. Psalm 58 and 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking like they can't help it. It's part of their DNA. This is why you have the term a quote white lie. Why is it classified like that, man? Because it's inherent within these people. You know, the B-2 bombers came from the White Man Airport. Oh, no, you don't think? Okay, hold on. Let me see. I think it's White Man Air Base. Oh, hold on. What's this? B-2 stealth bombers took off from the U.S. on a mission to strike Iran. A group of elite B-2 Spirit stealth bombers that took flight from White Man Air Force Base. You can't make this stuff up, man. I'm telling you. You have to be in the spirit when you read all this stuff, man, because you know you always got these idiots out here talking about the white man. Esau is not the white man. Add it up, man. The wicked, who's in control of the earth, the red man, the only red nation. I mean, come on. Let's stop playing games. Is it ironic that the B-2 spirit, oh, we're talking about the spirit of some of the white man is coming to bomb somebody and take them out. Ain't that something? I digress though. I digress, right? Getting back over here because we have to prophetically line this up. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? Well, what did they call this operation? Midnight Hammer. On behalf of who? The U.S. So who could we be talking about that the U.S. is representing? Oh, Babylon. See that? 2 plus 2 does equal 4, not 5, like they'll tell you in the book 1984. It's plain. Operation Midnight Hammer was a significant U.S. military operation that involved surprise strikes on 3 key Iranian nuclear sites using over 125 aircraft, including B-2 bombers and precision-guided munitions. The operation aimed to neutralize threats posed by Iran's nuclear program without pursuing regime change. So, let's get back. A sound of battle is in the land and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I've laid a snare for thee. So this is a trap. America believes that they're pushing the issue and they're the ones that's getting ready to, establish the dictatorship on the earth, and diplomacy is going to be laid down, regime change. You seen Trump talking about we want to end, we want a complete end. Sign the deal or else. We'll completely destroy you if you don't do it. The Lord said this is all a trap. It's a snare that America is going to get caught in because of the pride and the haughtiness of its leadership is going to believe that they can do anything and everything that they want. But no, it's going to be a change of the guard. And the changing of the guard is going to be our King, Hamashiach Yahushua, coming back to wreck shop on the earth, save his redeemed, and reestablish the kingdom of heaven from everlasting to everlasting and forever, ever, and even ever. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. The Most High Yahweh hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Most High Yahweh, the power of the host in the land of the Chaldeans. So the Lord is getting ready to open up a can of whoop. You know the rest on this place. Come against her from the utmost border. Open her storehouses. Cast her up as heaps and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Now, you gotta sit back and say, well, hold on. How was ancient Babylon taken? Was it utterly destroyed? No. We've talked about it historically. There was very little military resistance when the Persians and the Medes conquered Babylon. So this can't be talking about ancient Babylon. Check it out. We've talked about that multiple times, cited multiple sources, didn't go down that way. Right? According to the Cyrus Cylinder and the Nabonidus Chronicle, they both say the same thing. It wasn't too hard to take over. So it couldn't be talking about this. Continuing on, slay all her bullocks, let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, the time of their visitation. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahweh our power, the vengeance of his temple. Look at it. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow. So what's bending the bow? The archers. Remember, we talked about it on Friday, that they had Israel was running out of arrow interceptors. We know that the arrows are metaphorical regarding missiles, whatever, missiles, drone attacks, ICBMs, hypersonic missiles, the archers, the bows. It says, all ye that bend the bow. Camp against it round about, let none of thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her. For she hath been proud against the Lord, against the Holy One of Israel. So now it says, render her according to her work. And even in Revelation 18, it says, reward her double. Right? So when it says, all ye that bend the bow, this is interesting because look at this article. Many nations are ready to supply Iran with nuclear warheads, says a top Putin aide. So if it's saying all of the nations, all ye that bend the bow, assemble against Babylon, that means that there's going to be a conglomerate of nations that have the ability to bomb America. Because right now, Iran doesn't have the technical the capabilities of reaching America with a bomb or a nuke. They can hit the military bases that's in the surrounding areas for sure, and that's on the table. But they're going to need some help from some greater nations who have greater output to get there. You know, a nuke from Russia would only take 26 minutes. 26 minutes. And I think they said that America's defenses right now, they only have a few hundred missiles that can, stop from their missile defense system that can stop an incoming attack. Russia's got thousands of nukes. And then they say that the capabilities of the missile defense system that America has is 50-50. As we're seeing what's going on with that Iron Dome, that was supposed to be this impenetrable missile defense system. Nothing can touch. Did you see what's going on over there? Clearly, that's not the case. That's why Agent Orange is over here talking about we got to get the Golden Dome up. How much is it going to cost? Book it. Cut the check. We need it. We need it up by 2029. Get moving, because I'm getting ready to light some fires here that quite possibly could burn this whole thing down. He came in on some, I want to stop all the wars. I want to get everybody to, make deals, and I want everybody to make money and be good. And, this would have never happened under my watch. Biden and this dude done started a more serious conflict than slow Biden did. That's why you can never trust your enemies, man. Let's precept this again. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow. So all the archers are coming up against Babylon. Again, this isn't talking about ancient Babylon because there was not a conglomerate of nations. There wasn't a conglomerate of archers that came against Babylon to help Persia take out Babylon. It didn't happen. So look at this. Many nations now are rising up. Mr. Araguchi has said that he will have serious consultations with the Russian leader hours after the United States entered into the Iran-Israel conflict by striking three key Iranian nuclear sites last night. Okay. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi announced on Sunday that he will travel to Moscow for high-level talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin following overnight U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Why and how can he book this flight so fast? And who's he going to immediately? Y'all already know. You already know. Ezekiel 38 tells us that they know who's going to be a guard unto them. We talked about it Friday. They have a defense pact that's signed between the two of them. It's economic and it's military. That they have an agreement with Russia, between Russia and Iran. So it wasn't they didn't go to the Arab Brotherhood and they went to White Zaddy. They went to Putin and said, "Hey man, we got a defense pact. You need to help us. You see what's going on." First nation that they mentioned, Persia, Iran. And what's Russia's job? To be a guard unto them. He booked that flight and said, "Man, we need to holler and have some high-level talks about where this is going." Putin's already been on the record saying, "Man, America is out of control. It wouldn't be wise for them to jump into this. You know, if so, we've got interests over there." We talked about it on Friday. At one of those nuclear sites, they've got hundreds of Russian workers over there helping them get their nuclear power up and everything else. And they were like, "Look, man, we've evacuated some, but we've got hundreds still over there. You bomb over there, man, we're taking that personal." So Iran's jumping on a flight so they can go over there and talk about what's going to happen. Speaking at a press conference on the sidelines of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit in Istanbul, Mr. Araghchi said that consultations with President Putin would take place Monday morning. The move comes in an immediate aftermath of the U.S. targeting the three key Iranian nuclear sites. Let's drop down. Russia is a friend of Iran. We always consult with each other. Really? Tell us something we don't know. I'm going to Moscow this afternoon for serious consultation with the Russian president tomorrow morning. Look at this. The Iranian foreign minister condemned the strikes as a gross violation of international law, adding that they had crossed a very big red line by attacking the nuclear facilities. We have to respond, right? So if there's any question, Trump came out and said, "Yeah, we took out one of the most dangerous and bad people in the Middle East and this terrorist place." And he wasn't singing that, man, 60 days ago when he was talking about, I've got a very good relationship with Iran and, we're going to get a deal done. I want them to have energy. I want them to have power. They just can't have the nuke. We can't give them the uranium so they can have a nuke. I want them to surprise. I love them. But now all of a sudden they're the worst people on earth. When he came out with it yesterday. I mean, this dude flip-flops, man, worse than, somebody walking on the beach with never mind. This is the true nature of the man that loves to lie, right? So look, let's look down here. I want to see. Look down here, Mr. Medvedev. This is, I believe he's a former Russian president. He's still a speaker on behalf of Russia, and he's came out and he says that a number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. He did not identify which nations he was referring to. Yeah, why should he? They're going to be the next ones on the hit list. But Russia, obviously, with them being a guard unto Iran and them having a close relationship and them having a defense pact, they would know who's ready to give them what. And they could be very well one of these countries that's willing to slide them something. Pakistan's already came out and said, "We riding with you. We got nukes. How can we help?" China's popped out and said, "Man, you riding with us, right? We've got our own pact and our agreements, and we've got an energy deal, and you've always been supportive of us and Russia's relationship. We riding with you." Russia obviously is out, came out to play. So multiple nations, yeah, they're saying they're ready to help Iran. Okay. That's one thing. Here's another article. So is Iran backing down? Trump came out and said, "Man, they need to back down. Hopefully this will bring peace." How the hell is it going to bring peace? You just bombed one of their nuclear facilities, man. You leaving them no choice, and then they say, well, hopefully this will bring peace, and we can come to the table and talk now. I mean, is this guy delusional or what? Here's Iran. They say you started it. We will end it. Iran media warns Donald Trump after strikes on nuclear sites. Airs map of the U.S. military bases in the Middle East. So they're even saying, look, we know where you're at. Here they go right here. All the military bases. That's the closest they can hit, really, you know, outside of the threat of quote unquote sleeper cells here in America. They've raised all of the security warnings at small hat, synagogues and places where they love to hang out, and except for those, underground tunnels that they were, doing God knows what in New York. I don't think they're securing those. Anybody remember whatever happened to those, man? How that story got swept under the rug? There was blood and mattresses and all kind of madness found underneath of them tunnels. Ain't nobody worrying about what was going on down there. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be securing those, giving them extra security for that. But hey, who knows? Maybe they will. But they've raised up the security concerns here in America because they're afraid of terrorist attacks or sleeper cell attacks. That could be all hype. Who knows? But they're definitely doing it. Tensions escalate as Iranian state TV threatens retaliation following U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, confirmed by President Trump. The U.S. military action utilizing B-2 stealth bombers targeted Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. With Israel informed beforehand, Trump asserts the success of the mission and calls for peace. How the hell can you bomb somebody and then say, "Let's hold on, we need peace"? Signaling a significant shift in the U.S. policy to support Israel against Iran. So this is the madness that they're on, right? But look at this. Iran played them, right? According to their state media, they're saying the uranium stockpiles, they already took them up out of there. So this whole bombing of this nuclear facility was in vain. This is how the Mossad, remember the Mossad said he's laid a snare for Babylon. They're thinking, oh, we had great success. You hear him come out, we're very successful. Did what they did, right? And that Iran was like, we've been moved the stash up out of the stash house. Yeah, you didn't really get what you were looking for. Iranian state media claims targeted nuclear sites and their uranium stockpiles were previously evacuated. Iranian state media confirms that the Islamic Republic's Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo nuclear sites were attacked by enemy strikes. The IRIB state broadcaster claims that the sites, along with their enriched uranium stockpiles, were evacuated beforehand. So somebody dropped them a dime and said, "Move these things before it's too late." Because they had plenty of time, and America kept talking about, oh, we got to get the, Ned and Notaju came out saying we need America's help. Yeah, we need the bunker busters to pop out and, get something to get those mountains destroyed. America saying, yeah, we'll think about it. We'll think about it. Give me 2 weeks. Iran is like, we're not even gambling. Move everything. And now when the bombs come, it's like, oh, got you. We already been moved that. So jokes on somebody else, if this is true. It's state media saying this, but Iran is not letting that out unless they want them to put that out there. Here's a big one. Iran orders closure of the Strait of Hormuz, putting off 1/5 of the world's oil supply at risk. Iran's parliament has voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, the vital shipping channel through which around 20% of the world's daily oil flows. The world's daily oil, right? 20%, that's still a lot, man. If you're considering the oil that's needed to run the boats, trains, planes, automobiles, power and energy throughout the world is going to be affected. That's going to create an economic crisis for many. This whole thing that Trump's whole plan on trying to get the economy back on track and making America affordable again, this ended all of that. It was already in trouble. Now this is going to knock it off track because now they're going to have to increase budget spending, print up some more money to help supply fighting for this war. That means inflation is going to go up. A lot of the markets and the businesses are going to be shook. Like, oh shoot, we don't know what to expect. Anybody that's invested in crypto, if you notice, all your crypto, everything's going downward, spiraling, red. Market's probably going to say to show the same thing probably tomorrow. Who knows? But right now, it's not looking good. The move, which could block $1 billion in oil shipments per day, is likely to send oil prices soaring. It will come into effect pending a final decision by Iran's Supreme Council. The Supreme Council decision must be made by tonight, according to Iran's state-run press TV. Iran's major escalation in response to the U.S. strikes on its nuclear facilities will be done whenever necessary. The strait connecting the Gulf of Oman with Persian Gulf is one of the world's most critical choke points, just 20 miles wide at its narrowest point. Let's drop down. And see here, the bulk of oil exported by regional petro giants, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE all travel through this narrow waterway. So this nice little honeypot of money where that flows through all of these Arab countries that control that oil, that's getting cut off. Everybody that's relying upon oil coming from these places, in trouble. In trouble, right? Now look down here. It says Asia is likely to bear the brunt most from any closures to the waterway. China, India, Japan, and South Korea all getting most of their oil imports through the strait. So this is why it's going to hurt these particular markets that they already got tariffs on them. Now they're going to get hit again economically. How are they going to respond to this? Now America, they've still got deals with Saudi Arabia. We're getting oil, the petrodollar, right? I'm not sure about Kuwait, Qatar, if they're getting any oil there, but these are allies of America, Saudi Arabia, the UAE. So over here they're going to react and say, "Oh shoot, we got to raise up the prices. We're getting hit too. How's that going to affect us at our pumps? It's going to be a problem. Our energy bills going to be a problem. Food prices going to be a problem because it's going to cost more to get the food in. It's going to cost more for them ships to come over here. The whole nine. The whole nine. So this is something else that everybody got to be prepared to gear up for. Yeah, we know the wars, everything, all that's going to be jumping off, and it's going to be affecting death and mayhem and everything else. But there's other fallouts that happen, indirectly after this goes down, and it's going to hit over here as well. See, oil prices could spike 10% after the U.S. attack on Iran, but don't be fooled. This may not last. See, this is why they throw that out there. It might not happen. It might not last that long. They're acknowledging it's going to happen, but they don't want to shock everybody into panic mode. So they throw out a little, but it might not last that long. So don't panic. Don't pull your money out the market. Still trust in Babylon. We're going to be okay. And we'll see how the markets react to all of this stuff, right? Anytime wars jump off, man, things is going down. It's not good for the economy. So that's why they're trying to throw this out here. Hey, don't be fooled. Hey, it's not like all the other times. Don't worry. No, we're not buying that. All right. Let's look at one more article before I close out. Like I said, it's not going to be too long. Iranians are rattled by Israeli strikes as cash runs short and fear spike. Why am I bringing this out? Because I want to bring to everyone's attention as well. How do wars affect everyday civilians and citizens and just the economy, things like that, or just things that we don't foresee? I know Sister Hashmai hit me up about, being prepared or trying to be prepared. I mean, you can only do so much. Our faith lies in keeping the commandments, the faith of Mashiach Yahushai, right? those are the things that we're mostly and need to be invested in. Let's just look at a couple of reminders because, of course, the we want to keep focusing on where our bread is buttered at, right? Here's the patience of of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua. So the first things that we need to do is keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahushua. That's off the top, right? Um, then we also have a scripture that I always close with, in the conclusion, 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, fear the Most High, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. These are the things we have to primarily have our minds and spirits focused in on during these days and times right now. Along the way, we also were given some wisdom and some understanding regarding these things as well. So Isaiah 33 and 6 tells us, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time. So when things are unstable, what's going to keep us in alignment and balanced is wisdom and knowledge. We have to apply these two principles in our lives, in our households, in our walk, and embed them in our spirits if we're going to remain stable in these times. Just like James tells us, a double minded man is unstable in all his ways. If you don't know, should I do this? Should I not do this? I don't know. Should I? You have to already know what's necessary for you and your household during these times because there's no question about it. Christ already told us that there's going to be famines. There's going to be pestilence. There's going to be wars, rumors. We're seeing all of those things. Now, if he foretells us and says, look, famine is coming, and you sit back and say, oh, I ain't tripping. You're going to feed me anyway. I'm good. Quails is coming back, just like in the days of during Jacob's trouble, right? Is that going to happen? Or is he giving us forewarning to tell us, hey, these things are coming down the pipeline. Watch and pray. And at the same time, use wisdom and knowledge to create stability when these things arise. I mean, we always use the example of Joseph. If Joseph had the dream and learned about 7 years of plenteousness and 7 years of famine, and he said, well, I know 7 years of famine is coming. While things is good, let's stock up and let's get prepared. And then when everything came to pass and Egypt was getting smoked with famine and dearth and everything, Joseph was sitting on high and got servitude from the nations after that because they had to sell everything that they had, even themselves, when everything ran dry. So is it a guarantee that, even in Isaiah 65, the Lord said that during these times the servants is going to eat, the servants is going to drink? I mean, how the Lord provides that? Will it be through wisdom and knowledge that he imparts on his elect that knows what to do or should understand how to get things in order when things happen? It's not a foolproof plan, but hey, it's faith in what the Most High told us to do. And if those things fail, we still have been doing what we're supposed to be doing faithfully and keeping the commandments. So the Lord's going to look out for us one way or the other. But it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So, that's the one thing that he's going to take to heart is the fear that we impose that's imparted within us. So why did I bring this up? Cash run short and fears spike. So since these strikes have been going on, since there's been, devastation and collapse in both Israel and in Iran, amongst other countries as well, but we're going to highlight what's happening currently right now, what's on everybody's hot plate. How are these things affecting these places? So these are things we have to consider. If there was it ain't got to be no bombing. If you're in an area where there's hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fire, so forth and so on. We've seen a number of different destructions happen here on these shores over the years, and how people, Look at what happened in 2019, 2020 when the plagues hit and they start talking about quarantine, 6 feet, um, uh, mask up, uh, limit supplies on this, that, and the third. You remember empty shelves and people was panic buying, fighting in the stores over who had so much stuff in there. Shopping carts because other people need stuff too. Remember the toilet paper shortages, all the other stuff. I mean, people are have a tendency to panic at the last minute. And do you want to be in the midst of the chaos, or would you rather say, "I'm good right now. I don't need to run out there and be amongst all of the damn zombies and maniacs. It's a good thing I had some things already on deck." Hell, let alone forget that. We see layoffs. All that's going on right now. People are losing jobs. Incomes are dropping. The side hustles ain't cracking like they used to be. You dig what I'm saying? So let's imagine you're not able to supply that grocery bill like you used to. Do you have some extra food on deck so that you can say, hey, you know what times is tough, kids? Hey, whatever, we're gonna have to get to the emergency supplies. That's what it's there for. It's not to say though when the bomb said you got some canned goods that's gonna help you live. No, you gotta think beyond just the obvious. Everybody knows damn well you ain't gonna survive if a damn bomb hits. You gotta be thinking, and we've got to be thinking about the extracurricular things that could happen that could impact our lives that we all need to be prepared for. Because look, this is what happens. A week of Israeli strikes has upended lives of Iranians, battering vital infrastructure like fuel depots. So we know gas stations is going to be affected. When you see, look, ask anybody that was living in Pasadena trying to get up out of there. When they had the earthquake up north, uh, what was it, 8, 9 months ago? Traffic was at a standstill. People couldn't get out. When the what was it? Yeah, when they had the fires over there in Malibu. Remember all that traffic, and they was just telling people just leave your car and get out. And they brought the bulldozers and smashing everybody's cars to free up the. All of these things are gonna happen. That's why, if at all possible, and I know everybody's living check to check, subject to payments, like the scriptures say. But if you can, at least keep a full tank of gas. If you can, try not to be riding on E and saying, "I know my car." Israel be sitting there, you getting in somebody's car, man, and the light come on the gas, and you looking like, "Are we gonna make it?" Yeah, I know my car. Shit, are we gonna be there? We cool. We good. Yeah, look, we can't be gambling on that no more. God forbid, earthquake hit, something go down, man. You got to flee up out your spot, and you got to get to, one of your fellow neighbors that's got their stuff in order, and you trying to get up out of there, and your damn light is on, and you like, can I make it? I don't know. You want to gamble like that, or should you try to make sure you at least got a half a tank or full tank of gas if possible in there? Fill it up. Don't let it go below half. So all you got to do is keep going back up, if possible, right? Um, I don't suggest unless you've got uh the space or the air. And they do have those I forgot what they call them, man. But if you got spare gas tanks in your maybe a garage or something like that, they do have something that kind of reduces the carbon monoxide and the poisoning. But they always say you shouldn't store gas indoors, so don't do that. But gas is going to be an issue, right? Let's look down what else that they got happening. Uh, Now it says inside Tehran, people describe it in interviews a daily struggle for basic needs. Daily struggle for basic needs. Now look, it says electricity and water will still be available. So right now they still are able to have power. They're still getting water, but cuts have become more frequent. So although they can say we've got electricity and water, rolling blackouts, them limiting how much water's going, rationing out power, rationing out water, those things are going to come down the pipeline. Anytime there's an emergency, something like that happens, uh, Like I always, well, let's mention California. Earthquake hits because of the power lines. Everything else could be going on. They don't want to start fires. They got to cut the power off, and who knows how long that could be out for. So, should you have a little backup source for some power? Absolutely, you should. Now, nowadays, I don't know. I haven't, did no shopping about, solar generators and all of that, but those are decent investments if you have the money and the time or able to finance one. Get you one. I don't have anyone that I can suggest to you. I don't promote nothing, but I've got a, I've got a couple of them. And it all depends on your power needs as well. And you don't just have to buy a generator. They got lithium batteries that look like car batteries. You can use those for power if you've got an inverter, and you can create your own little power source. But if you got the food, your refrigerator's out, all that's going bad unless you can't go buying them, coolers and styrofoam coolers and trying to use ice all day because you try to get to the store, that's going to get burnt. That's going to get burnt out when you get to the store and there's lines galore. And by the time you get to the front, you saying I need ice, and they like we're sold out 2 hours ago. Sorry, that's not gonna work. So you might need something to keep your refrigerator going. You might need something to keep your, some people have dialysis and got particular machines that they need to stay on, or for their treatments or whatever the case may be. You may have somebody who's got asthma and they've got a nebulizer machine and it requires power. You need to have that to plug in. Don't let baby girl gotta have an asthma attack and you can't plug in the machine because you ain't got no power. You don't want to be in that position. So if you have the ability, start researching on some of those things because when the ish hits the fan, power is definitely going to be affected. Get you some USB LED lights that you can plug into, a plug, USB plug or something like that, to a computer or to a directly into a generator. Then charge your phone, charge your computer, stay on top of information if possible. Make sure you got some lighting. You always can get your candles and all those other things, flashlights, those are all good too. Nothing to be rejected. Make sure you got extra batteries, all those things, right? Look at this. Food prices have soared. That's why it's not necessarily going to be there's no food around. Like everybody's scavenging where there's no food. That will be after, a lot of destruction has taken place and people are scrounging around trying to find any place to eat. We're experiencing famine already. When you got people out there doing buy now, pay later to get groceries, there's already indications that people are starving, where they have to try to figure out robbing Peter to pay Paul just to get some food on the table. In a lot of instances, food will be available, but you won't be able to afford it. That will create a famine. That's going to create a power struggle where people are like, you know what? You got food, is your mouth or mine, and I'm coming to get it. Second Ezra 15 tells us that's going to happen. Food prices are soaring. Let's look at that real quick. Real quick. I know I said this ain't going to be long. I promise y'all I'm going to close out in a second. But just moving in the spirit. Second Ezra 15:16 on down, it says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in the power." You've seen a little example of that 2 weeks ago when they had the No Kings protest. People are already getting that spirit up within them where they're ready to be or commit sedition against governments. They're ready to commit sedition against their authorities and powers and governments and senators and all that other stuff, right? People are wanting to rebel against authority. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So there's going to be restrictions, zones that you can't go into, areas that quarantines that they got people locked down on. We see what's happening with the immigration situation jumping off. Continued on, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor. I made this example before. Look, Mrs. Jones that lives next door. She been the granny for the whole block. She's lived there the longest. 60 years she's been there, and she's starving. And you got a house of five. The scripture saying that ain't nobody gonna help Miss Jones. Matter of fact, Miss Jones is probably gonna get robbed for whatever she got in the house. That's how ruthless people are gonna be. That's how desperate people are gonna be. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. So another thing is, be wise about who you acknowledge and who you are letting into your private affairs regarding what you have and what you're prepared for when things go down. Because the blind folks out there who's not paying attention ain't they're caught up on what they can't see past the front of their nose. They're saying you're crazy and you doing all that stuff you talking about, whatever. But see, now people are starting to see, oh shoot, there are some changes. So don't be surprised when you start hearing different water cooler conversations now at the job or amongst your family or whatever the case may be. Don't be the one to be, yeah, man, shoot, I'm ready for anything, man. I got a stockpile of this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. And this is why I keep it. And I definitely got this on deck, and I got some money over here. You do all that, man. You get everything that comes your way. You have to be discreet. Remember, wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability of that times. Be discreet on who you speaking about certain things to as well. Because the Lord said that a man's not gonna have pity on his neighbor. It ain't gonna be, oh man, that's my buddy, that's my friend, that's my cousin. We've been good. So people get, what they say, desperate times call for desperate measures, right? Because what they said, they're going to destroy houses with the sword and spoil their goods. They're coming to spoil, take, scavenge any of the goods they got. Why? Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Now, going back here, food prices have soared, cash is in short supply. So the rotation of money or cash, that's slowed down over there. You know, think about it over here. Something go down, you can't get to the ATM, you can't get that money out. You're heavily relying upon the plastic and the chips. And that you ain't got it. None of them is working. Oh, you get to the store, our machines are down. We can't accept that. Well, how am I supposed to buy my medication? How am I supposed to buy my food? How am I supposed to buy this water? I don't have cash. Sorry. It ain't gonna be like the movies. You had a small little local store and they saying, okay, well, let me write down. I got an IOU for you, Shaquanda. I got an IOU for you. Think Moab at the little corner store is gonna give you credit? Ishmael gonna give you credit at the bodega? What? They sealing the doors, arming themselves up, saying, keep the niggas in the spics out. Muhammad, let us in. We've been coming here all our lives, man. You're gonna let we know you got food in there. Muhammad, let us in. No, my friend, I can't. I have a family. They not opening that dang door. They gonna say, you got cash? We'll let you in. You ain't got no money. Oh, guess what? So what should you do? Maybe you should keep a little shoebox money at home. Make sure you got a little stash at the crib if you're able. Everybody's financial situation is different. I get it, especially now. But consider, you know, you might want to employ. Let's say you do this. Everybody's working in the house, right? Everybody that has a spare, dollars, just lose dollars. You may have a bucket. You may have a container or something that you're dropping in. Oh, you know what? I got some extra dollars. Single dollars. Drop it in the dollar book. That's gonna add up eventually. You ain't gotta start heavy. You might even consider and say, well, you know what? Hey, instead of me buying that bottle of Hennessy, That's $35, $40. Maybe I should throw that in the safe. I gotta start somewhere. Maybe I should, majority of y'all coming from the church, you gotta get 10% anyway of your earnings. Would you invest that in yourself? I mean, unless you in a congregation and y'all know we operate off of alms. If we don't do the tithing, that's not even valid anymore in the scriptures as far as monetary means are concerned. That's a whole nother thing. So I'm not saying don't continue paying your alms. What I'm saying is invest a percentage in yourself and in your house just in case. Cash is in short supply. Another thing, I'm not no financial expert, none of that, but wisdom would say if you look at the metals, look at platinum, gold, silver, all those things are accelerating and they're doing well during these times. So that lets you know ancient money, like we should read in the scriptures, silver, gold, that's been here for thousands upon thousands of years, has sustained itself as opposed to all of these paper currencies that's been popping up all over the place. The one thing we know for sure that's still here since biblical times is those metals. So let's say you ain't got no cash, right? But you got some silver shekels on you. You might have to go to a pawn shop, cash that in, and get cash. Hey, I'm selling this silver back, man. Give me what it's worth. I need a spot price on it. Get your cash from that, and then go. People at certain times, you gonna have people that I think it's in I know Tennessee. I think Florida just recently said that they're getting ready to accept uh, gold and silver as legal tender. Tennessee, I know, has been doing it as well. So there's states that's already saying, hey, we're ready to take these coins when it's all said and done. So these are all things just to consider because that's what happens when crises come into play. Have these things prepared. Food prices, so you might want to make sure you got some extra things on deck. Some dried pastas, some beans, some rice, you know, uh, some canned goods or whatnot. Water for sure. You're going to need um, filtration systems. If the water goes bad, what do you have to clean out the water? Research those things. A cap full of bleach into so many gallons of water will help sterilize the water. But you got sterilizing tablets you can buy fairly cheap that you can do to sterilize water that you need. There's a lot of different things you gotta consider. But definitely gonna need water. They tell you, man, the body can survive without food for a few days, but without water, all bad, all bad, right? So those things as well. Not saying that the wait for fuel can be up to 5 hours at some gas stations. So, if you're thinking about running up out of somewhere, they were telling everybody you need to get up out of there, flee, leave the city. That creates traffic jams, panics. People ain't got enough gas to even make that move. 5 hours you wait and you get to the gas station, offer them to tell you that the pumps are dry. We ain't got no more. We got some more, hopefully in the next few days. By then it's too late. Or you get there and you're looking to fill up your tank and there's only, enough in there to get you $15 worth of gas. And your tank holds, it costs you $60 to fill up your tank. You're done. You're done. Right. Another thing too, look down here. As the other moments of crisis, Iranian authorities have responded by clamping down. The government, for instance, has imposed a near total blackout of the internet. So, our favorite uses of finding out information, find directions, they're going to cut that out because that's energy and power that they don't want being exploited, utilized by the public to put out anything to drain out because the government said we need it the most right now. We're shutting that out. So a blackout of the internet is something that they all will do as well, where you won't have access to the internet. Look, and the country's been disconnected from the global internet since the middle of the week, according to NetBlocks, a monitoring group that tracks internet outages. So when the internet goes out, people panic already when they get the internet out, man. People panic when you forget your phone at home. So imagine when you don't get no signal, you ain't getting nothing up. How are you going to contact your loved ones? Also, remember, you know, uh, as we all are accelerating in age, and even for the youngsters, man, who are just completely relying upon, the technology. You don't remember phone numbers like that. You got little pictures and emojis of people that you're in your contact list. You got nicknames for people. You just click on it and it's calling their phone. Who remembers phone numbers like that anymore? Who remembers addresses like that anymore? No, because the smartphones have made us dumb, me included. Certain numbers I definitely remember because I know these are my immediate emergency, my wife, kid. I got those you got to have on deck. And even if you don't, make sure that you are writing down your emergency contact, people that you need to contact or you need to be in your Rolodex, and keep it somewhere safe where, hey, if I do get to a landline or I do get to a way to communicate, I got their numbers on deck and I can call them. Not, I can't remember anybody's number. I don't know their address. Where am I at? Get you a compass. Make sure you know your cardinal points, north, south, east, west. Learn a little bit about directions instead of, hey Siri, well, how do I get to such and such? And smartphone telling you everywhere to go. Communication. You might get a little network of people that's in your surrounding areas that you trust, so that you can communicate with, that you can get some, you know, uh, walkie talkies or whatnot. Not many are gonna do too good unless you're within, the ones that they sell like at Big Five, Amazon. They'll advertise you get 2-3 miles of range, and you're thinking, oh yeah, well cool. I'm I'm within that range for the brothers and sisters that I connect with. That's only if it's flat land, no buildings, nothing in the way, no interferences coming from other signals and other technologies. You probably might be able to do that with a good high grade um, walkie talkie. But in these cities and urban communities, please, it's not going to be as advertising. You're going to be disappointed. So you got to look at some of them other radios that's out there. I know there's one called Rapid Radio that's nationwide. Works just like regular walkie talkie. I don't have one. I've been looking. We've been looking into some of them, but that's just one that just popped in my head. I think it's an annual fee that you pay to keep them activated. But you'll be able to communicate with people in the event that the grid goes down and all communication cease. You still be able to talk with your loved ones and talk with uh, your circle that you have, contingency plans, lined up with. But these are all things that you just got to, keep in mind, because this is what happens when things go down. You just got to observe. You see, well, how is this affecting these other countries? What happens when there's war, conflict, upheavals? What happens when there's food shortages or whatnot? What are they struggling with? And you see what happens. Even in Venezuela, they've got a uh, their economy's been bad for years on end. They're at a collapse right now, and the government has came out and they're arresting anybody that's speaking about the economy. Any analyst that's out there talking about how bad the economy's working over there. Not so that's something also to consider. If America could follow the same pattern and say, well, we're arresting anybody because that would be considered sedition if you're speaking against the government and how they're handling the economy and how things are really bad, because they could be putting out there, hey, it's not that bad. We got control of this. And you're like, no, it's bad over here. Look, we're doing this and a third. And before you know it, hey, we saw your stream. You know what? We're locking you up because you're over here being seditious and you're speaking against the government. They're doing that right now in Venezuela. As they, hold on. Let me see if I can find that article real quick before we close out. Here we go. Oops, lucky. Yeah, let's look at this just real quick. You see this? Maduro jails analysts who reveal Venezuela's economic decline. So they'll even get to the point to where oh wow, look at that. Iran just killed 3 US soldiers and wounded dozens. All praise to the most high, man. I mean, here we go. Here we go. So the retaliation is already on. American blood has been spilled. What are it's only up from here. Right. But this is just a headline I want to share with y'all, man. Maduro jails analysts who revealed Venezuela's economic decline. They're going to change laws. They're going to sit back and say, hey, you know what? If that's exactly how the blueprint works to control the populace, to make sure that everybody is under, control of the government, they're going to do those things. These are all things that we got to be aware of and know what's happening. So with that being understood, more to come, y'all. More to come. The elder just put out there, Iran just killed 3 US soldiers and wounded dozens. That means that they're not turning down nada. They coming back out of America heavy. So it's all in the spirit, man. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Again, stay tuned, man. I'll be popping back in. We got to stay relevant with what's going on, moving in the spirit. I might have to break my fast of only doing DSTM once a week. Who knows? Got to move in the spirit. But with that being said, prayerfully this was edifying, and y'all got some more information to carry on throughout the day, man. Keep your eyes peeled. We're gonna see how this thing pans out. All right. So I'm gonna get out of here, man. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Always remember, fear the Most High, keep the commandments. Don't shoot the messenger. Shalom.